Today we're going to show a tip on how to take some regular potatoes and preserve them for future use. So stay with us and we'll show you how to do that real quick. Okay, first you just take some really good potatoes. These are just ones that we had picked up from Aldi's, so they are pretty good size. They're all an average size, and it is easier to peel them if they're all, they don't have the eyes or the notches or anything like that. So first thing we do is that we get it peeled. So I will peel a couple of these real quick, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we have peeled all of the skin off the potatoes. We made sure that none of the little notches were exposed or any bruising, so we made sure that all of it was done. So the next step is to take just a slicer. This one just happens to be the one I have. It has a guard. I would really recommend a guard. I was watching I can't remember what kind of video it was. I think it was a cooking show, or worst cooking show, and a guy ran his fingers across with his hand and he sliced the tip of his finger off with it. So it also allows you to slice the potato in consistent slices. So you just slice them pretty thin. So I'm going to get these sliced and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we have them sliced. You want them to be as consistent width-wise, because they will dry evenly, even though they do dry just fine. Even if they're not, you just have to kind of go in there and move them around a little bit. But you want to first they rehydrate a little easier too after we're done drying them. So the next step with these is you want to remove all the starch on the outside. We're going to set a couple of these aside so you can kind of see what it looks like if you don't blanch them while they're freshly sliced. So we'll set a couple aside and we'll show you what those look like after they're dried. But the next step is to take just a pot of boiling water, which just got the stove. So you just put some of the potatoes into the water, and just let it set for just 30 seconds to a minute. It depends on the thickness of your potatoes. Again, the point behind putting them in the hot water is not to cook them. It is to just kind of remove some of the starch. So let these just sit in the boiling water for about a minute, minute and a half. And again, we're not trying to cook them. We're just trying to kind of get them blanched. You just stir them around a little bit to make sure that they evenly get heated. You want to kind of just heat them up to about 200 degrees. Again, you don't want to cook them. You don't want to leave them in the hot water. So, and that's another reason you kind of want the slices to be pretty consistent in thickness. So I'm setting them in this cold water because, again, I don't want them to cook. I just want them to just to blanch. So we'll continue boiling, just blanching these potatoes. We'll put the rest of them in the hot water here. And if your water cools down, just stick it back on the stove and let it heat back up. Again, you just want to cook it for a minute and a half. So we'll continue these and then we'll show you the next step. Okay, so we've taken all of our potatoes, we put them in the hot water, and now we've taken them out of the hot water after they've boiled for about a minute, minute and a half. So we have taken them taking them out with a slotted spoon and put them in this just cold water to let them, again, we're not trying to cook them, we're just trying to get the starch off. So you want to rinse them really good. Again, the cold water cools them down and keeps them from cooking, but it also cools the potatoes down so you can actually handle them without burning your fingers. So just rinse them really good. Again, this is probably not the perfect size of a bowl, but we're just doing a small amount here for a demonstration. So, but if you do a large amount, you use a larger pot. You can do, I mean, I've done, up to 3 or 4 whole potatoes, which is quite a few when you've sliced them, in a pot at once. And we've done, 50 and 60 pounds of dehydrated potatoes in a setting. So I'm going to just kind of re-rinse the water here real quick. So you can kind of see that they're a little more transparent after after getting them cooked a little bit. So again, we weren't trying to cook them completely, we were just trying to heat them up. So we're going to start first with our tray. I'm going to lay the first 2 that we didn't do anything, we didn't treat them or anything, so we're going to lay them there, and then we're going to finish laying out our pieces across this. So let me get those out, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we've now taken our potatoes, we've added them to our dehydrating plates. We have an Excalibur 9 tray dehydrator. So this is the 2 potatoes that I originally cut up, and you can see that it makes 3 pretty full trays. And you want them as thin as possible, but you can also see the 2 here that I didn't treat, and you can tell already that they are significantly different colored. They're starting to turn white when the others are starting to turn more transparent. So we will stick these in the dehydrator over the night. It usually takes between 6 to 8 hours to dehydrate them, so they actually go pretty quickly, relatively compared to most other dehydrated things. So and then we'll show you what they look like in the morning. So I will see you then. Okay, these have had all night to dry. As you can see that they've kind of peeled up, and they are just white hard chips. These again are the 2 that I showed you that didn't get prepped in the water. You can see they're kind of dark, discolored looking. Again, this doesn't hurt them, they just don't look good, and they don't really rehydrate as well. And I'm not sure what the difference is, but they so these I usually just discard, but that just putting them in that flash boil for a minute and a half when they're so thin, they and again, if you cut them thicker, you just need to boil them a little longer. So, but this makes quite a few potatoes, keeps them easy to store. Here is my this is the bucket that I keep that shows all of my potatoes. I'll take it off here. So these are all dried potatoes. This is a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid on it. So we've got quite a few. I've also, some of you can kind of see that are in this spiral. I used was just experimenting with a apple peeler and the vegetable peeler, like you would spiral cut fries for like you'd get at the fair, that are like covered in cheese and deep fried, so that they came out in like strips, and they seem to dry really well too, and they flash boiled well. Now the temperature and what I dried them in was 125 degrees for 8 hours. So if you have some that don't necessarily, you don't get to the flash boil if you fill up your dehydrator, just cover them with cold water and stick them in the fridge, and then they'll last until you have time to get them in the dehydrator. I had some that I didn't get dehydrated for almost, I don't know, 24 hours, 20 or to 48 hours, and I just had them sliced, and I had pre-boiled them and just put them in the cold water, and then just left them in there, and they were just fine. They worked just fine. So, and again, I used the Excalibur dehydrator, which works really well, and the sheets just come off, and you can just fold them up and dump them in. So that is my version of just storing and dehydrating some potatoes. Again, that they store in these gamma lids, which are airtight, which I'll do a product review of in the future. So please like and subscribe, and put in some comments of things that you'd like to see done, food you'd like to see prepared. If I know how to do, if that's something that I can do that would make you guys help you guys out, then just let me know. So again, like and subscribe and share and comment. I appreciate it.